A 55-15 final, Oregon over Oregon State in the Civil War to move to 8-4 overall. He's Rob Moseley, I'm Joey Mac. The Ducks with the best two-year span in scoring in a Civil War, and they've won 10 of the last 11. A lot of good things to talk about, and it started out with a quick start for the Ducks.
Yeah, we talked all season really about how much of a key that's been. You know, some of the road woes, that's been an issue, but in this game, Ducks get a turnover on downs, a big play by Drayton Carlberg on a third down to tip a pass, set up a fourth down, Beavers throw incomplete, Ducks get the ball, drive down to C.J. Verdell's first of 5 touchdowns on the day. Heck of a game, 208 all-purpose yards as well for the redshirt freshman running back. Really set the tone for the day. You know, you and I talked late last week about how the Ducks were talking about, hey, Alex Mirabal was actually talking to the team. We just, just a guy needs to make a play. Somebody needs to make a play, whether it's offense, defense, special teams. You know, Carlberg makes a play there. C.J. Verdell makes a bunch of plays, but it sparked the Ducks and it got them off to the start they needed, and it just got the momentum really, really rolling Oregon's way.
And it was without two of their big guys at some point throughout the game. Justin Herbert left the game. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that. Dylan Mitchell only played in the second quarter as well. Ducks did it without a couple of their bigger stars.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, as we move forward here, all eyes are going to be on Justin Herbert's status for a bowl game, and going forward, all of that. He was at the team's postseason banquet over the weekend. Shook hands with Mario Cristobal as he accepted a team MVP award. So that was obviously very encouraging. Tyler Shuck comes in for the last couple plays of the first half, and then Braxton Burmeister comes in and operates the offense very efficiently over the course of the second half. Obviously, he's a guy, if he's going to have to play in the bowl game now, he's going to benefit a ton from having a month of bowl practices, give or take a few days, depending on what game Oregon ends up getting slotted into. But for him to come in under those conditions, that kind of rain, the offense obviously very predictable based on the fact that Herbert's out and the weather and the score and all that, and yet to still operate the offense and keep the pedal to the metal for the Oregon offense was something that was commendable.
392 rushing yards for the Ducks compared to 54 for Oregon State. Let's talk offense first. It's the first time in program history that a pair of Oregon running backs have gone for over 180 yards. You mentioned C.J. Verdell, Travis Dye, an outstanding weekend for them.
Those guys just run so hard, and that's another thing we've talked about all year. Just in this, particularly when they go pistol, I mean, the whole idea there is to give the guy the ball when he's got a couple steps going downhill, and they are such downhill runners. They're fearless between the tackles. They're not anticipating a hit, and that just makes them so good. C.J. Verdell will just put his head down and bust through anybody, or at least try to. And Travis Dye just has enough wiggle. I've compared him to Kenai Benoit, and I think that still holds. A guy who runs with a physical style at times, but also has that kind of wiggle, makes him really hard to square up, and just they complement each other so well. Their styles are different enough that it gives the defense fits, and we certainly saw that on Friday.
And young guys that have gotten better and better, I think, as the season has gone on. Ducks also defensively, they had to do it without Jalen Jelks, and they still held the Beavers to just 54 rushing yards, 282 passing yards, but still. That's a performance.
And I think the leading tackler for Oregon had like 6 or 7 tackles. I mean, really spread around. A lot of guys stepped up. We mentioned Carlberg. Thomas Graham follows up his big game against Arizona State with a couple interceptions. He got picked on early, and he said he knew he was going to. That Jonathan Smith, when he was Washington's offensive coordinator a year ago, tried to pick on him, and he also figured, hey, when a guy comes off a big game like he was, you figure maybe he's a little too high, and maybe you can catch him off guard early. And they did hit some plays with him, but he kept his head down, showed some maturity, made some plays at the end when it counted, and obviously a pick six, a big exclamation point for that Oregon defense.
It's worth noting just how big this is for Oregon football. They're averaging 47 or more points per game against the Beavers in the last decade. I mean, this has been an incredible performance, really dating back a long time.
Yeah, and it's part of what made that 2016 game sting so much. This is a conversation that had evolved more toward, hey, Washington is Oregon's big rival, and Oregon State was almost an afterthought in some fans' minds. And in 2016, the second half, Oregon sort of played like it thought that too. And the rains came, and Oregon State started to pound away with Ryan Nall in the running game, and Oregon just had no answer. That clearly stuck with a lot of guys. When the rain came in the second half Friday, Oregon raised its game. They were not about to let history repeat itself. There were guys who made a point of taking jackets off at that point. They had jackets on because they were cold during the dry weather in the first half, and when it started to rain, took their jackets off to show, hey, we're not that same team. You're not going to be calling us soft like you were 2 years ago, or at least implying that. So, for guys like Shane Lemieux, who really took that to heart, I think they took a lot of pride in performing much differently this time in similar conditions.
The energy on the sideline was something else. I asked Jacob Breland about that post game, and I just said it was like a dance party down on the sideline when the rain came out. He said, "Yeah, we really embraced it, and that was definitely a fired up locker room." I think overall now you look ahead to a bowl game, and there's a lot of possibilities for the Ducks, but it's looking like with an 8-4 record, you're sitting in a good spot for bowl games.
Yeah, if you're going into championship weekend this weekend, I think from the Pac-12's perspective, you're absolutely rooting for Washington State to get into New Year's Six. Financially, that helps the entire conference, but it also moves everybody up a rung in the bowl pecking order. So those other teams that are kind of on the margins for spots in the New Year's Six, not a lot of those teams are in conference title games, but there could be some movement based on this weekend. So you're looking at anything that helps Washington State, because they're not in the Pac-12 title game Friday, get into the Fiesta Bowl. I think the Peach Bowl is the other one that could take an at-large team. Obviously, the winner Friday between Washington and Utah is going to the Rose Bowl. The loser will get slotted perhaps to the Alamo Bowl, perhaps to the Holiday Bowl, depending on where things go with the Cougars. I think Oregon's going to be a really attractive team. I think you look at a team like the Holiday Bowl that's been reported by Stuart Mandel of The Athletic. The Holiday Bowl really likes Oregon. And I think Oregon fans are really happy with that idea, that Oregon could go back to San Diego for the first time in a while. So you do need some things to fall that way. If the consolation prize in that case is going to the Red Box Bowl, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area, also on New Year's Eve, also another place with a ton of Oregon fans, that you'd be happy with that too. Now, some dominoes could fall the other way too, and Oregon could start falling down in the bowl order. But I think if we're talking about what's most likely to happen, you're probably looking at New Year's Eve in California.
Especially with an attractive team, as you mentioned, like the Ducks. That goes a long way. One other thing I think we should mention, and moving forward, this is going to be critical. Ducks offensive line, they really controlled the line of scrimmage, and in a bowl game against any competition, that's going to be huge. We've seen a lot of moving parts on that offensive line, and boy, they dominated the trenches.
Yeah, and they're only going to get healthier. I mean, we've seen Dallas Warmack have to go in and out of some games. Who knows what Penei Sewell's status might be as you start looking. If you're talking about a bowl game that's now a full month, more than a month away, if you're talking about a New Year's Eve game, that's a lot more time to heal. Getting a guy like that would be huge. You're talking about probably if you're winning one of those New Year's Eve games, going against a Big Ten team. Somebody like a Northwestern or an Iowa that prides itself on playing very physical football. So you want to have all your guys up front, and that would be an Oregon against an Iowa, with this new physical mentality that Mario Cristobal wants his team have against Iowa that prides itself on playing that way would I think be a fun kind of old school smash mouth matchup. So that would be something to look forward to. But obviously a lot of things are in play between now and then before we find out next weekend where Oregon's postseason destination will actually be.
We'll find out the destiny.
The destiny of the destination.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. A 55-15 win for the Ducks to move to 8-4. They finished 5-4 in conference. A bowl game on the horizon, and also worth noting with Oregon football beating the Beavers in Civil War, the Ducks swept the Beavers in all the fall sports for the Civil War. That's pretty nice for the Civil War series.
It is. That includes, of course, volleyball, which will be hosting matches in the NCAA tournament at least Thursday of this week at Matthew Knight Arena, and hopefully Friday as well if the Ducks win Thursday. So no football game on the schedule for Oregon fans to attend this week. So if you can, get yourself out to Matthew Knight Arena, because there's going to be some great entertaining volleyball played, and hopefully get the Oregon volleyball team off on the right foot for what we hope will be an extended postseason run.
Been fun the all regular season. Let's do it again after the bowl game,
Sounds like a plan.
Rob Moseley, Joey Mac. We'll talk to you after the bowl game. Ducks beat the Beavers 55-15 in the Civil War.